So some of you may know about the Scottish Genomes Partnership, some of you may not. It's a team of scientists and doctors working across Scotland to take forward pioneering research in human genome discovery. And we're funded by the Scottish Government and the Chief Scientist Office and the UK Medical Research Council. So what is a genome? Some of you may know this already, but I didn't know who I was talking to today, so I thought I'd start with this point. Best way to talk about it, as set out here, is it's your body's instruction manual. It contains all the information that's needed to make you, run you, repair you, and you've got a copy of your genome in almost every cell in your body. And apart from where there's been a particular mutation that's happened at the time of your conception, it's inherited entirely from your parents. The 100,000 Genomes project is a project run by Genomics England, and it aims to sequence 100,000 genomes from NHS patients across the UK. The funding for the 100,000 Genomes project is entirely from the Department of Health in England, so therefore to make that happen in Scotland, we've had to put in place this separate package of funding, and in addition to doing other research studies, we are able to have 1,000 patients from Scotland who are part of the 100,000 Genomes project. And in England, the focus is on rare disease and cancer, whereas in Scotland, the participants are patients with rare conditions and their families. So who's involved in Scotland? Well, the 4 NHS regional genetic centres, the clinics and the laboratories based in Aberdeen, Dundee, Glasgow and in Edinburgh, and they cover the whole of Scotland in their remit in terms of how they work. And they collaborate with Genomics England. They recruit the participants, they take the samples, they provide medical information to that study. And then the samples are sequenced by the Edinburgh Genomics clinical facility in Edinburgh, and they transfer the data securely to the Genomics England pipeline for the analysis. And then the reports are returned to the Scottish NHS, to the laboratories in Scotland for diagnosis, and well, for validation first of all, and then feedback to participants if there's a diagnosis there. So it's quite a complicated project. It has been to set up, but we're very proud of the way the different components are working very, very well in Scotland. And this is a research study at the moment, but the aim is to get all of these bits working together so that it can then eventually be put into patient care. So yes, absolutely. First aim is improving care for patients. All of these people, this is a picture actually Natalie Frankish will recognise, came from her rare disease event in the spring. All the people who came to that were there because they want to see better treatments, better diagnosis, better care pathways for people with rare conditions. And through this project, through the 100,000 Genomes project, patients might get a diagnosis for the first time. And although that diagnosis doesn't always lead immediately to a treatment, at least it's a step in the right direction. If you can understand more about why your child or your family member has a particular condition, it's the first step towards actually making a difference. Secondly, we want to develop genomic medicine services in the NHS in Scotland. Particularly through this study, the Scottish Government wants to find out when whole genome sequencing is going to be particularly useful. And the project is looking at everything that needs to be in place, from the clinic, the laboratory, the data management side of things, the analysis. And it's also looking at the costs and benefits compared with other treatments and other tests that might be out there, like exome tests or gene panel tests. We're also generally looking at trying to find better ways to help people. Through the 100,000 Genomes project, we can compare genetic data from tens, hundreds, maybe even thousands of patients, depending on what the condition is. And that will help us to understand causes of ill health at a molecular level and how to treat them. The people who are taking part in this have agreed that their data can be used to help with research beyond their own particular diagnosis. And that means that in the future, as we learn more and more about how the genome works, this will actually help scientists to learn as much as possible about what's causing these diseases. So in the future, it paves the way for personalised treatments for many patients in the future who've got rare conditions. And finally, one of the things that Genomics England talks a lot about is kickstarting a UK genomics industry. Participants again agree that researchers from industry, including pharmaceutical companies, can look at their data in very controlled ways. And although there are issues, as we know, with the pharmaceutical industries we've talked about already today, actually this is the quickest way to turn scientific discoveries into new medicines and other diagnostics. So how are we getting on in Scotland? Well, we have recruited 1,000 participants. we have now got sequence data that has been produced in Edinburgh for about 750 of those, and the rest will be produced before Christmas, and interpretation with Genomics England of those genomes is underway. The first results are starting to come back to Scottish patients. Some of those are a no result, but some of them are actually a result for the first time, and we hope to complete that process in terms of feeding back to patients by next summer. Thank you.